Hi guys, and welcome back to episode 14 of the Card Crunchers podcast. I'm here with Jamie as always, where we will be talking about all things TCG related. And just for a little update for you guys, we have made a Card Crunchers podcast channel, and going forward after this episode, all of the new episodes will be posted on that channel. So link will be in the description if you're watching this on YouTube. Go follow the channel, go subscribe, and then you can see the next episodes, because we will no longer be posting the episodes on our own channels going forward. So yeah, go check it out and go give us a subscribe on that. So it's been a little while since it's just been me and you chatting. So I think there's been lots of things happening. I feel like we've spoken quite a bit about some of the Japanese sort of full art trainers, the Lily card that was hyped. Some of that has obviously come down a lot now. What I think is interesting though is there's always these trends. There's always these hype trains that happen and come and go. Things 10x, then come back down to, half the price of what they peaked at. Where do we think these type of trends start? Like how? Because they start somewhere, right? Like it doesn't just come out of nowhere. Like something happens. There's a catalyst somewhere that triggers some events. Like where do you think potentially these things happen?
Yeah, I think it's a really good point. Obviously, the market's sort of come down a little bit now, especially on these full arts and the hype cards that we were talking about just a couple of weeks ago. As we predicted, they would come down. I think that is just the way the market moves. It's definitely an interesting one because it isn't one singular moment. I think it's definitely a snowball effect of many moments happening. I think perhaps one sale can be enough sometimes to get people interested. I think a lot of the time, if people aren't aware of the card, I think exposure is definitely one of the things that's a really big factor in there. I think if people aren't aware of the card, the FOMO effect of people go, oh, that looks like a nice card, and they might not necessarily be interested in buying it, but as soon as one sale that sold for like double what the last sold was, I think that's when the panic mode starts happening and people go, right, I wanted this card a month ago, but I didn't get it. Now it's doubled in price. It could potentially double again. So I'm either going to buy it to hold because I want it in my collection, or potentially I could buy it, and if it doubles again, I can sell it for double and make my money. I think that's probably one of the thought processes that people have. But yeah, I think there's definitely probably parties involved. I've mentioned this before with other card games where I've seen certain cards trended, and it on the outside it looks like nothing's happening. It just looks like a card trending, but having sort of knowledge of kind of what's been happening, there's definitely been parts to play in the movement of the card. It might just be a case of somebody buying multiple copies of it and mentioning to others, I bought this card, I think this is going to be a good spec, this potentially could go up in value, this is underrated, or the population's low, for instance, if it's a graded card. That's all it takes, really. And I think the hype starts, the train starts going, people post about it, people are buying it, prices start rising because more people are buying it. And then eventually we've got this snowball effect. And then, as you've mentioned before, everyone then starts grading that if it's a graded card, or everyone starts selling at the same time. And that's when we see prices drop. I mean, the Dream League, I think Dream League Lily card that went up to, I think, 3,000 in its peak has dropped below 1,000 now. I think it's around 800 at the moment. I know some people have shared that recently. So there's been a big retrace. It's still more expensive than what it was before the little peak, but it's definitely significantly less than what it was at its highest.
So I think you made a really good point there, which is about exposure. Like people that may not have even seen the card get exposed to it, and then they might appreciate it and be like, oh wow, such a nice card, and then easily gets out of hand, and the demand for the card can quickly rise just because of that. Do you think it would still happen if we didn't have social media? Do you? I mean, I guess you probably have more first-hand experience with that because you were collecting when there wasn't really social medias involved. Did you still see? It's hard, isn't it? Because I mean, the hobby and the whole thing wasn't as big then. But I guess there probably was a point in time where it was just eBay or I don't know. Yeah, what do you think social media plays the biggest role in that?
I think social media definitely does. It's marketing, isn't it? Like with anything, marketing is the biggest industry in the world, and adverts and stuff like that, getting people to buy things. Even the way a shop is, the way they do the floor plan for a store is to make you spend as much and buy things that you might not necessarily always buy. And I think that's the same thing with the social media and collectibles. Honestly, when I was collecting before, it was on forums. And that was kind of the main. You'd be chatting to people. People would, they'd have their buy and sell posts in there. There'd be new news that would be posted for new cards, but there was nothing to the level it is now. It's I guess as I've scaled in terms of like where I've been collecting, and I've just sort of transitioned into that. It's only when you really stop and think about just how much of a change it has, and how different things have changed. I definitely don't remember any. I think back to price rises in cards, and one of the cards that kind of resonates me was Yan Mega Prime from Heart Gold Soul Silver Triumphant, and we're going back to 2010, 11 here, so we're going sort of 13 years ago. That card's value shot up in price because of its playability. It was such a playable card and such a great card that's why that card rose in value, and that went from 30-40 pound ultra rare to 150-200 pounds almost seamlessly overnight. And that wasn't social media. That, I guess, that could have been how do you learn a card is good. I suppose people posted saying, oh, this deck has been topping this and this deck's topping that. Yeah, Mega Prime's doing well. And the same as like the Mewtwo full art from Black and White Next Destinies. There's specific cards that I remember that kind of had a good amount of traction, but not anything to the level we're getting, we've had recently these last sort of couple of years.
Yeah, I guess it's really hard to make that comparison, isn't it, to back then, not only just because that, it's different. It was a different way of interacting and sharing things, and it was just the size as a whole was completely different. So yeah, it's probably quite a hard comparison to make, but yeah, it's a weird one because I think with social media, you don't know like people's intentions. Like at the end of the day, if you're making content, whether that's YouTube, whether that's just sharing your collection on Instagram, the average person, they just want to share what they've bought, and what they've got, and what they love, right? So it's hard to know if there's any kind of different intent behind why they're sharing a particular post. Like if someone wanted to try to hype something up or try to potentially start one of those snowball hype trains, and I mean, just eBay. You think about eBay, you can shield bid, it comes up as a last sold. It's kind of a very easy thing to manipulate, and yeah, you don't know what people's intentions are behind some of their posts. So it's a really tricky one to know. I think social media is a massive. Without that, I think a lot of this wouldn't happen. But yeah, it's easy to manipulate, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's the key point, is you don't know people's intentions, and it might seem to be looking that they're posting stuff because they're they just want to post their collection or share it, and they like the cards or specific things. But when I guess one of the things really to think about is if you see something being posted and you go, okay, this looks pretty cool, and then you see other accounts posting the same thing at the same time, that's when, for me, that would be a red flag. And that happens, and that can happen because they could potentially be trying to, start a snowball effect, or it generally just could be that, you know, someone's seen it and they're going, oh, this is a popular card to post now, so I'm going to post it.
That's the thing. It's so hard to know, because like if base set started trending, I know for a fact I'll probably start posting more of my old Watsy stuff, because it's going to, people want to see it, people want to interact with that and engage with it, so it's like that post will do well, so you want to post it. But at the same time, like what you said, is sometimes you could view that and be like, oh, he's only posting that because it's trending and he's trying to add to it. Like, it's really hard to know people's intentions.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's the power of the social media. I mean, we could all say, every time you post, you need to really think about the after effect. I guess if you take it like a celebrity, for instance, when they post something, it's on a bigger scale. But, say Post Malone posted on his Instagram, I've just bought this, a random full art PSA 10 from a XY set, for instance. Let's take Umbreon, I think, from Fates Collide, for instance. I'm going to post up this Umbreon PSA 10. I think this is an amazing card, such a really nice card. Glad to have it in my collection. I guarantee the moment he's literally showed the card on screen, somebody's got onto eBay or Instagram or, Facebook groups saying, want to buy, or, and they'll try buy copies. And I think so many different moments happen with this. We look back at, if you're kind of people that are tracking Pokemon right now, I know there's certain people that are tracking the popularity of the card game, moments of peak interest. So we go back to 2016 was probably the first sort of rise or peak really with Pokemon. Obviously Pokemon Go, 20th anniversary, evolutions. It was a great time to be entering Pokemon and collecting and playing. And then 2019, we had Hidden Fates. And I think a lot of people entered Pokemon back in 2019 that maybe we don't talk about as much as maybe 2016 or 2020. But 2019, was the pivotal role in it. And then obviously we had 2020. And you look at each moment, and every single part has, a part to play. You go back to 2016, say 100,000 people entered, but 50,000 left. You've still got those 50,000 people that are in it that weren't before. 2019 happens. Maybe another 100,000 enter. But this time, out of that 100,000, how many of them had entered in 2016 and left? These kind of sort of things. And then, 2020 as well. And I think 2020 was more of a exposure on a larger scale in terms of like the value of cards. These cards could actually be worth something. Versus the other rises, which maybe might have just been generally a bit more organic and just interest in general. So I guess, those kind of things are parts to play, and how much of it was social media?
Yeah, I mean...
know. But it's definitely worth maybe having this conversation, honestly. If more people have this conversation, maybe people will understand a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean... Logan Paul is the perfect example of like a celebrity or someone with a massive following on social media, posting about Pokemon cards. Because if we go back to then, prior to him doing that, I think as an example, base set booster box was about £10,000. Anywhere from 12 to 15,000 US dollars. I would say it was probably at that price just before he made that video about Pokemon cards and went public with that.
Yeah.
And then after that, probably like 3 months later, I think it peaked at about £30,000. Anywhere between sort of like £28,000 to £30,000, that same box within the space of a few months. And yeah, I mean, with just all the cards in general, that I think, that shows how much of an impact just one person can make. Although I do feel like it's probably different now that that's already happened, because like you said, the previous spikes do feel more organic. It was people that well, I mean, 2016, it was Pokemon Go, right? And that's where the interest came from. People played the game. I was one of them. People played Pokemon Go, and then they went, oh, remember those cards that I used to collect when I was a kid? Wonder if they're still about. Went on eBay. Oh, look, you can like grade them and do all these, other things with them, collect them, get them graded, get them encapsulated. So the interest there was from people who were playing Pokemon Go and obviously already had some sort of attachment to Pokemon when they were younger or just in general. Whereas probably in 2020, yes, some people did have that same relation. There would be some organic interest there, but there would also be a lot of speculative interest from people who know other trading cards or sports cards, and they know the potential of what him doing what he done has to the market, and immediately go, oh, we need to buy stuff quickly because this is going to go up. Who knows what the percentage of those different types of people coming in were. When that's kind of information we're just never going to know. But it kind of is mad how much of an impact just one person can have, or potentially like a group of people if they wanted to try and shield something and try and initiate some sort of market manipulation or trend that is inorganic and being created out of nothing, essentially.
Yeah, and I think something I've always thought was quite interesting is if there has been cards in the past over the last couple of years, or maybe even longer, to be honest, how many of the cards that have risen, one, were actually generally started as a manipulation process, and two, out of those that were started, do you think any of them were a group of guys going, we could probably do this, like, as an experiment? And they've gone, well, let's just see if we can do this. And it's happened. And they're like, well, it's happened now. Like, that was quite easy. And I think experiments are part of anything really in life. And I don't know if it's something that people talk about with trading cards. I know you get, like with anything, if you get enough people to talk about something and say they're buying and say that it's a really good buy, that's all you would need. But how easy would it be to basically artificially inflate something on a short term, for instance? Long term's a bit harder, but short term seems to be quite easy. From you pick the right card, you pick the right rarity, it's got to be something popular. Say you chose a Gengar card from the mid era, for instance, got a low pop, Gengar's really popular. I'm not saying people should do that, but it's quite interesting.
Watch Gengar shoot up now. I think the problem is that if those types of people were making content, I think it'd be very, very obvious to recognize and spot what they're doing. I think you could probably, I feel like you could kind of fill that out and see what's going on and see what they're up to and put the sort of puzzle pieces together and figure out that they're sort of starting it. I think if there are people out there that are trying to do this, I think what they do, I think they would potentially look for things that are starting, like they might look at content creators and listen to some suggestion or advice that they give out on a particular card. And then I think they would probably try to perhaps shill it. I think if they had their own social media following, it would just show that what they're trying to do. But I think they kind of would work in the background more and take advice from channels that have a big following and they know they've said that, and potentially others might think about buying it because they've said it, and then they go and shill some of those cards and start creating that. Obviously, that is just me purely speculating and guessing how someone might try and do that. But it's kind of, it's just really interesting, isn't it? It's just such a bizarre thing to think about, I guess. And
yeah,
it's
something that, yeah, it's something that I think, probably everyone talks about, honestly, or the conversation's brought up. And I think, what would it take for there to be another rise on the similar level of 2016, 2019, 2020? What do you think would have to happen? Or could it happen again?
In terms of Pokemon?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they just need. Yeah, it's a really hard one because the 2020 part of it is like with Logan Paul. So many people have already been exposed to it at this point. So it's like who's really left? Like who likes and has an attachment to Pokemon and hasn't already at one point come back? I don't know. It's a hard one to think about, but I think there needs to be like another event in the sense that like 2016 was Pokemon Go, and it absolutely spread. The whole world went crazy for those first few weeks. I was at work and people that were older than me who weren't around, like Pokemon wasn't a thing for them because they were too old at the time when it came out. They were playing Pokemon Go and absolutely loving it. So
yeah,
I feel like there needs to be another like massive thing that comes out or is released that gets people interested in Pokemon again. I don't think it would be on the scale of 2020. I honestly don't know if that kind of scale would happen again. But I think it needs to be another big event, and that would get some people interested again. And even if that's people that have already been interested and then left, because how I actually got into it was Pokemon Go. It was 2016. So I was like, oh, cool, like, played Pokemon Go, looked at the cards and found that you can buy the cards on eBay, you can get them graded. And I started buying a few things. I bought some base set booster packs for like £30 on eBay to open, which, I mean, at the time, it felt so expensive. Like, I was like, I'm paying £30 for something that was like £2.50. Yeah, I was like, this is nuts. Like, I was like, this is crazy. What am I doing? So, yeah, I bought some of them. I opened them. I didn't even know about like light and heavy packs or anything like that. Had no idea. They were definitely light packs. I bought a few and nothing was in them. But I came in for a little bit in 2016. I bought some fairly like high end things at the time. Like I bought a sealed base set 2 box, and I bought a raw first edition Charizard over like 2 months, and then I left. Like I wasn't. I think the difference there is I wasn't watching content on YouTube. I wasn't on Instagram following other accounts. Like there was no community side for what I was doing. Like I purely was just buying and collecting these things for myself. I wasn't sharing it or interacting with anyone. And a few months went past and I stopped. And I had those items. They were just tucked away like under a wardrobe and just sat there. And I thought, maybe they'd be worth something down the line. I don't know. If not, they're really cool. And then in 2019, Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee were coming out. And I was like, I want to get the... Like, I didn't even have a Switch at the time. So I was like, I want to buy these. This, it's the original, but in a Pokemon Go style. Like, it's perfect for me. It's perfect for that nostalgia. And then because of that, I was like, I wonder, what the cards are doing, what the prices are. And I checked, and I was like, oh my god, like that base set 2 box, that first edition Charizard, it's like 2 to 3 times the price it was in 2016. And then I got back in, and that was it. Like, since that point, I created my Instagram. I found Leon Hart on YouTube opening vintage packs. I was like, oh, that's awesome. Like, I can watch people open packs that I can't afford anymore. And so I feel like potentially if there's another event, it could get people back in that did come in 2020. But I don't think it will be as big as 2020 was. Very, very long-winded answer.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think people will enjoy that. Because I think a lot of people probably had similar stories of, 2016 was a peak interest, and then, some people stayed. Some people just play the Pokemon Go game. I know so many people that just play Pokemon Go. They don't watch the series. They don't collect the cards. They just love the game. And, I see people walking their dog. I see older couples walking their dogs and they're playing it. And, that's their exposure to Pokemon. And to them, it's not Pokemon. It's just a game that they enjoy.
Yeah.
And it's different for us, I guess, as people, people that are just actually fans of Pokemon. So, yeah, I agree. It would definitely take a big event. I don't think we'll get a level like 2020 because there aren't. I think it'll just be I think it'll be organic. I think it'll be maybe fans that got back in 2020, like Hidden Fates and stuff. Maybe it's a generation of kids that were in 2020. Maybe they were 11, 12 years old, for instance, or maybe younger. They've stopped collecting now, maybe, because they're in their teenage years. They'll come back in say 4 or 5 years when they've got disposable income, and they might start then buying Hidden Fates again, or Shining Fates, or Champions Path. Maybe not Champions Path, but Hidden Fates and Shining Fates for sure. And then, I guess that's that traction really. But yeah, I don't think we'll have another event, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I see it now, actually. I see, like, occasionally, like, people coming in just, kind of just like, it seems random. Like, they're like, they started collecting a few months ago. And I'm like, why? like not being funny, but like, my mind goes like, what's happened to make you start collecting then and not like when it was huge and everyone knew about it? Or it's funny, like people do just trickle back into the hobby and into collecting, and who knows where that comes from, whether, like you said, they've got children and they get back into it or something happens from that side of things. But yeah, I think you're right. I think as time goes on, people come back in for their own reasons, whether they've got money or not, or they get older and they realize they can go back and collect a set and finish a set that they haven't finished. And yeah, potentially I do think like those big events along the way, with whether it's a film, a new game, or anything like that, I do think every one of them leads to some extra people coming back in. And it's way more organic, like you said. Like when those things happen, it's people that are really, really fans of the franchise, right? But yeah, I mean, a lot has changed, I would say, since 2020 in general, in the way that people collect or buy or interact. So we've obviously got platforms like Whatnot, which is a streaming platform that you can go on and live stream opening packs, and people will buy or bid on them within the app. And obviously it's very interactive because it's all live streaming. Very similar. I mean, people can do it on YouTube. You can do YouTube Live, but the way it's done as an app, it's very optimized. You can just swipe and you've bid or you've bought a pack, and that streamer will open it. Weiss Schwarz actually had a very big event recently on Whatnot. I did just recently make a video about it, but I think it's probably good just to mention it on the podcast as well. So
yeah,
they literally bought like some of the rarest booster boxes in Weiss Schwarz, with the potential chance to get the most expensive set card pulled, which is the Bunny Girl My SP. And for those that may not know, Weiss Schwarz is mapped, like pull rates are mapped per case of 18 boxes. I think back then with the old boxes it was 16 boxes per case, but they're mapped, so that 2 of those boxes in that case will have a pull in it, and in that case they will have an SP or 1 SP and 1 secret rare. And these boxes were bought by Whatnot for this massive event where Rhymestyle, Alex, and Last Pack Magic were opening these boxes and giving away all the pulls for free to the viewers on the stream, as long as you hit the sort of follow and enter on the giveaway as they run it. and you get all the cards that they open live on stream. And yeah, unfortunately, the boxes that they got were dead boxes. It was from a case, whether it was the direct seller or where the seller bought them from. Some information has obviously been provided incorrectly, and they were dead boxes, so they didn't hit any of the SPs. So it was super unfortunate. As an event though, like I woke up at 2:30 in the morning to watch this. I was awake till about 5:30, and that's how long it took just to open the Bunny Girl boxes. They then opened even more things, and gave that away. So they opened the Bunny Girl movie boxes. They opened Chainsaw Man and gave away all the pools and stuff. But at that point, I had to go to sleep. But the fact that I woke up and felt like I wanted to wake up to watch that, for me, yeah, it just felt like almost like a historic event in Weiss Schwarz collecting, and I just felt like I had to be a part of it. I didn't win anything, and that was obviously just an added bonus. Like if I could win something, I probably would have woken up for it anyway, because it's just not going to happen in my opinion again. But it was a real shame to see them hit some dead boxes. And yeah, I mean, it was Whatnot who paid for all of it, so they bought these boxes for thousands and thousands, and as a sort of marketing promotional thing for Whatnot, and to give it all away. But yeah, it's a very new concept. I think Whatnot hasn't actually been around that long. I want to say like a year or something around that. Like, how do you what are your thoughts on the platform?
Yeah, I think that I agree is probably definitely one of the biggest moments for Weiss, in terms of like exposure. I mean, we've both talked about Weiss before. Obviously, you're a Weiss channel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think even though obviously it's a shame that they were dead boxes, it's such a monumental event, and I think it's really great that Whatnot actually got so heavily involved in the whole process. They obviously spent a lot of money. It was an investment. It shows how much that card games are moving, because companies like Whatnot, not only are they a platform to stream on, but they're now working with content creators to help make better content and bigger content. And I think those kind of events will happen more often. I know there was a recent one for Pokémon, I believe, with Whatnot. I did see quite a few content creators posting about it. Definitely something new. I think 12 months is probably about right, I think, when it started. Obviously, you did your first stream on Whatnot already. That, from my side, it seemed like it went really well. I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun getting involved. How was that for you doing the whole process?
So, I mean, I've done like the odd Instagram live here and there. Whether that's just opening some packs for myself or opening some packs for other people, it's not something I've probably only done that like 2 or 3 times where I've gone live to open packs that people have bought. So I guess there's kind of a little bit of experience of just being live. I mean, some people probably have never been live and might go on there, so it's very different. But even for me, it like it was great, and it went a lot better than I expected, because not only is obviously like, I don't know, the UK is niche in terms of like TCG. Like America is the number one for TCGs, right? So you're already like a slight disadvantage, I guess. And then you have like Weiss Schwarz, so that was all I was opening. So it's like niche of a niche, right? So I personally didn't expect much from it. Like I'm happy to go on there and try something new. Like if you don't try, you don't know. All you've got is your own time to invest in trying something. And it went a lot better than I thought. Like I think at one point, like after you end the show, you see some analytics and stuff. I think it said it had over 50 viewers at one point, which for the UK, I think is like very high for a first stream as well. So yeah, it went really well, except I had some issues at the start. I was trying to use OBS and have like 2 cameras set up, my microphone, and I had no audio. So yeah, it was a bit like, I was a bit flustered, I guess. I was a bit flustered at the start just because like I'd gone private and tested it, but no one's there to check. So, just simple things like restarting the stream. I'm like, I've never done that, so I don't know what to do, and I'm supposed to be live, and I'm like 5 minutes late now.
Yeah.
So that was quite overwhelming, and I was like panicking, just trying to get it to work. But I ended up just doing it on my phone, like most people do, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, it went really well. I do find it hard myself, like to keep up with the chat and what I'm doing, but I feel like that's just something that everyone's going to go through if you're new to the platform and you're not used to streaming and interacting with a chat and opening packs. But yeah, as a platform, like it's really, really good for people to be able to just easily pick up things. I've been on there and bought a few things from people when I've joined their sort of live streams. But it's crazy. It's a very different. It's just such a new thing, like in the sense that if you went back to 2019, there was just nothing like this. That it just didn't exist, right? There wasn't this type of community and this type of interaction anywhere online at all. So yeah, it's kind of just getting your head around something new. And I know a lot of people avoid change and avoid new things. So yeah, I think just give it a go. Like, even if you just want to go on there and watch some streams and buy some packs, like it is fun. Like it's just a very different way of doing things. And when this episode goes live, you would have already done your first stream as well. But at this point in time, you haven't done it yet. So yeah, what do you think about it? Like, I know the UK especially is very Pokemon heavy, which is why I was like, I don't think it will go that well, but I'm going to try it anyway. Yeah, how do you feel? Because I assume you're opening Flesh and Blood.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think it's, about the change thing. It's very different. I've done quite a lot of Instagram lives in the past, and I've done, rip and ship style thing. So definitely trying to keep up the chat can be really difficult. It's, you're trying to do multiple things at once. It's a lot. It's multitasking. I think, I'm really excited. Again, as you said before, my expectations are low. If, a couple of people join and want to get some packs or just want to chat, that's fine. I'll probably end up opening a box of Dusk Till Dawn myself anyway that I was planning to open. So I'll just open that for myself. I've got Flesh and Blood, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, and Magic. So I thought I'd do one of each, basically, to kind of see. So far, I pre-sold a Dusk Till Dawn Flesh and Blood box, and I pre-sold 5 Lord of the Rings packs, but they want to keep them sealed, which I was like, okay. I said, he just randomly messaged me on there, and it didn't come up that I had sold them, and I was like, what packs do you want? And he was like, I think it was because I know some Whatnot streamers, they obviously have their packs because Whatnot take a percentage. I think it's 8% and then card processing fees or whatever. So it's about 10% altogether. I think that's why the prices are a little bit higher on a lot of things. Yeah. I noticed some streamers were selling Paldea Evolve packs, for instance, for £7. And that's obviously more than what you'd buy them in a shop, but I guess the whole experience is different. So I priced my stuff at what you'd buy them at a shop. And I think that's probably why the Lord of the Rings packs went quite quickly, because it's still quite a popular set even after the One Ring. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I'm excited just to get involved and try it, really. I think that's the key, is just trying it and seeing what it works. I might have 10 people watching it. I might have 15 people. I might have 5. So once it's made, it's out there. As with any YouTube content, it's done. If I enjoy it, a big thing is if I enjoy it as well, then I'll be looking at trying to expand and do more. I think it's exciting, definitely. That company's growing massively. I know there's been some things that's been brought up about people swapping cards live on stream. Yeah, and I'm sure Whatnot are probably doing whatever they can to try obviously they can't monitor every stream. That's impossible. There's so many people streaming at any given time, but I'm sure that they're going to take the relevant steps to try and make it a safer, more enjoyable platform, which, from my onboarding already, it seems that they've got plans in the making to make it continue improving that, which is exciting because it's a new platform.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure they record every stream, so every live stream that goes public is recorded, and obviously that could be watched back by whoever on the team and things like that. So yeah, the fees are fairly high. I think they end up working out about 12%. I think I interpreted it slightly wrong as well. So the packs generally are more because just to cover that, they need to be higher. And then some people are probably going to charge more because they're popular on there, and they're trying to do this as a full-time thing, and make an income from it. Now, I want to get sort of your perspective on just the types of people going on there and picking up packs, because what I found weird, like going back sort of 6 to 12 months ago, is that there's like, it's like a whole separate community. That's what it's always felt like to me, is that you'll have people on Whatnot that aren't on Instagram, and that always, I don't know, maybe it just felt strange to me because Instagram is where the community started for me, if that makes sense. And I mean, if you go back years, you could apply the same thing. Like when it was the E4 forums, I'm sure people from there were like, oh, there's all these people on Instagram like making accounts and for collecting that aren't on the forums, and it all feels very like there's these different communities starting and things are changing with the times, and there's just these different, it feels like there's these different generations of different types of collectors. And I know you've been on there before as well, and you've bought packs and things like that. Do you think it feels quite separate to the communities you're used to?
Yeah, I would say it does. Same as it does with TikTok. I've seen, TikTok lives before, and I think one thing to think about is the way people enjoy card games and hobbies is very different. I think we have the way we collect it, we enjoy it. We're on Instagram, we're on YouTube, maybe Facebook groups as well. But I think the way people take things, the way people enjoy it is very different. You've got this, we've spoken about this before, the modern collector. And I'm talking about people that, there can be people that have been in the hobby for a while, but I'm more kind of focusing on people that have entered the hobby within the last couple of years that hadn't been in it before, or maybe were 20 years ago or whatever. But the modern collector is very different than what we've been used to. And as time goes on, it's changing, and what that is changing as well. These, Whatnot streams, TikTok streams, YouTube lives or whatever, even ripping ships on Instagram and Facebook groups, raffles. It's all very different and very new. And I think the type of people, I know there's people that go on TikTok lives and open packs. They buy packs to be opened and that, and they'll never buy a pack in the shop in their life. They never will, ever. And that to me just seems strange, but I guess, I don't know, what's their reasoning for being in Pokemon or in card games? That's their own, really. There's no right or wrong answer, I suppose. So it's definitely different. I'd say there's different communities because I don't know, it's almost like a separate hobby inside a hobby. It's kind of hard really to explain properly.
Yeah, I guess I think what you said about like why they're making that purchase, I think that's probably where it comes down to. Like, are they just buying that because they're just sat on that live or on that stream and they think, oh, I might get a card that's worth more than what I paid? Like, is it yeah, is there a gambling aspect to that where they think, oh, there could be something in that one, and or do they collect? It's I guess you're never going to know that. You're never going to know their intention behind the purchase. And I guess there's just like, it's instant, right? If you're sat on your phone and you're watching that stream and you see the packs there, if you want that pack, you've got to leave the house. You've got to go to a shop. You've got to I think it's so much more suited to the current generation who are used to that instant gratification, is it? I don't know if that's the right word, but just that era of like social media, of YouTube videos where everything is just like there right now. And, you can see those packs on your phone. You can literally just swipe that button and someone's going to open that for you. You don't have to order it online and wait 2 to 3 working days to get the pack to open yourself. It's very different because that's what we're used to, right? We're used to wanting to open packs ourselves. We want to buy them, pre-order them, get them in, and then open ourselves. But being on there and having bought some packs on some streams, like, I can see why people do it, if that makes sense. Like, once you've experienced it yourself, you're like, oh, okay, like I kind of understand it. Like, it's just, you're just sat there, you don't have to do anything, you just buy it and it gets opened and sent to you. If you get something, great. If not, it's just instant. It's just literally in an instant, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I'd like to be able to explain the feeling of it, the comparable feeling between opening packs yourself and having someone open packs for you, because it's, as you said, it's very different. I've done it as well. I think, I don't know, it's strange. I guess people, I know I was watching a TikTok live stream of somebody opening packs, and they were talking about how they only started doing it 2 weeks ago. Because I asked if they had Instagram, they went, no, I need to make one. And they literally started doing Pokemon, like, ripper chips on TikTok, like 2 weeks ago now. They had quite a lot of people in the stream. That was that. I don't know what moment. I guess they went, I can make money out of doing this or something. But they literally started 2 weeks ago, and that was their first journey into the hobby.
Yeah.
It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah. Surely you'd think that as the person doing it, if that's your first entry into the hobby, then surely it's extremely money motivated. I would guess. Like, why else would you want to start streaming and opening packs for other people if you don't have any other involvement? But then I guess even if you're coming in and you're trying to collect, or you're trying to invest, that's also just equally money motivated, isn't it? If you're trying to invest or buy some things that you think will go up in value, it's not really that different. It's just extremely different, isn't it? Like, it's something new, it's something completely different that I guess a lot of older collectors or just don't always understand, I suppose. And I know I've been there, like, when it first started. I'm like, I think you said it right, this is like QVC for like, and if you don't know what that is, it's like that's like daytime bidding TV channels in the UK and stuff that we had for like buying like a toaster or something, like, where they just sell it and it's all done live and you have to like phone up and put a bid in. It's very different, but we're both on the platform and we're both trying it out in our own hobbies, in our own TCGs, because I know that there are Weiss Schwarz sellers on there, but I think it's mainly US. I mean, everything's mainly US at this point, but so I think some people do it in the UK, but they don't always, they don't focus on more of the anime, like more of the core Weiss Schwarz sets, is how I'd put it, rather than, they're probably just selling some of the Marvel, some of the Disney 100 that they know will do well on Whatnot. But I'm hoping to sell some of the core Weiss Schwarz anime focused sets and see how that goes.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's something different, I think. Yeah, I looked. Flesh and Blood hasn't got really a big presence on there at all, so
yeah,
it'll be interesting to see if I can help try grow. And as you said, US is bigger, so I think with anything, it's just trying something. You don't know what unless you try it, you don't know. And even when you try it, you don't know the possibilities that can happen. It might be a case of it just doesn't take off in 12 months, but the growth and the traction that Whatnot's had with the content creators that are involved already, it's definitely something that I'm gonna make a conscious effort to put time and effort into. I mean, the packs after the Whatnot fees and stuff, the chances of making money on it are very slim at the prices that we're probably charging. But right now for me, it's just about enjoying it and trying it and seeing if people can engage and just try something new.
Yeah, exactly. It's always, there's no harm in trying new things, right? As long as you're not swapping cards like that other seller, right? Absolutely ridiculous. But I think that is episode 14 summed up, unless there's anything else you wanted to cover.
No, I think that's it. I think, we're not going to get an opportunity. We know we've got London Card Show coming up.
Yeah.
So if anybody's watching this that are coming in, let us know. We're both going to be there on Saturday and Sunday, the trade night as well. Really excited for that. And we're going to try and make some content for the channels and for our respective channels as well there, and probably spend money. But yeah, it'll be exciting. So if you're watching this, obviously on YouTube or you're streaming it on Spotify, comment on the YouTube channel anything that you think that we could discuss in the future. Maybe what you think of Whatnot as well. I think it's interesting to see what other people's perspectives. Some people are for and against, and some people are kind of not so sure yet. But I would, I'd implore anybody to try it. Just, even if you're just going to watch streams and stuff, at least, But if you want to try streaming, there'll be links in the description of our videos below to our Whatnot pages anyway. You get £10, I think, free to spend if you follow the link to sign up. But yeah, thank you all for watching. Please comment, like, subscribe as always, and have a great day.
And just one last thing, do not forget that the next episode won't be on our channel, so go give us a subscribe on the Card Crunchers podcast below if you're watching this on YouTube. See you in the next episode.